been since Super Bowl 50.
Tonight, all right, enough of this golf talk.
I just realized this is the first in-person, 3-person podcast.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah, that's right, because we've been doubling it up every time.
I thought you had one with your dad.
Yeah, my dad and my uncle.
And his uncle.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
right,
a 4. Then we had a 5-seater
Really?
with your family, with Chelsea, not Chelsea, with
That was 6.
Nick and your dad and Anna and
How'd you do
yeah,
that
it
with
was 6.
How'd you do that with
A lot of
microphones?
sharing.
We all got COVID.
Yeah,
after.
this is the first 3-man crew.
Oh, great.
You might have found yourself a job, young man. Quit school tomorrow.
Wasn't sunny.
Well, you are part of Gen Z, Generation Z,
Yes.
Ethan, for whatever that means. And the Oxford Dictionary, that's not Oxford, Connecticut, it's Oxford, England. They define Gen Z as this. I'm just going to read it. The generation born in 1997 through 2013. What year were you born, Ethan? 2008. Bam, you're right in the middle of Gen Z, kind of. Perceived as being familiar with the use of digital technology, the internet, and social media from a very young age. And a lot of change happens with that within every generation. Jonathan and I are, I don't know, what year were you born? Millennials. Yeah, we're millennials.
94. I just missed the cutoff.
Now you just missed the cutoff, and our parents are, I guess they would be Gen X, probably. So a lot of change. But I want you to read, Jonathan, if you can read Hebrews 13:5-9 listed there as our verse.
Hebrews 13:5-9. For God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. So we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere humans do to me? Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Do not be carried away by all kinds of strange teachings.
And it happens all the time. With each generation, there's always something new. And our faith is ancient, and He's a God of all generations. And you're 14 years old, right? I'm 33. I'm going to be 87 in this October. We have a wide gap. And but the fact of the matter is that who Jesus is, and what He offers and what He stands for, and everything that comes with following Christ and what He requires doesn't change. And I want to read this, and this is kind of where we're going tonight. By the numbers, I have this written on the bottom. It says this: Generation Z, this is your generation, Ethan. Generation Z is the least religious. Now just put Christian there. Generation Z is the least Christian generation yet. More than 1/3, that's 34% of kids like you, Ethan, and kids in your school and Gen Z are religiously unaffiliated. They have no church affiliation, a significantly larger proportion than among millennials, Jonathan and I, at 29%, and Gen X at 25%. Survey Center of American Life. So here's the question tonight, and we're going to lean a little bit on Ethan, because I want a perspective of somebody who is halfway through 8th grade, you're halfway now to going to high school.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the question that I have. So what we've just read basically sums up that, kids your age, let's say, 14 through, I don't know, whatever, through 20, let's just say, whatever it is, feel no need for Jesus, no need for a faith foundation, no need for any of that stuff. I'm going to do it on my own. So the question we're going to propose tonight is, did something happen? Did something go wrong? And is it the church's fault? I don't mean the Bible church, but is it the church's fault? Did the church forget about you guys? What keeps students away, like kids in your school? Like what do you think happened?
I feel like nothing's changed. It's been like almost.
That's probably the right answer.
It's
actually,
like
yeah.
It's great how they keep teaching the same people and how we do stuff for Moments for Missions and stuff like that. And we're going to new people, but we're going to new people in the wrong places. Like, we have a ton of people right here that have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, we're preaching, and it's so amazing what we're doing to the people right here, but that's probably, 50 people that come, like,
Yeah, whatever it could be. Yeah, whatever.
week.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
like, listen to the sermon,
Yeah.
and then, like, you see there's so many other people that are just sleeping till 1 o'clock on a Sunday because they have nothing
Do you think
that they look forward to. I'm like,
do you think that kids, and maybe Jonathan, maybe you can frame this another way, but do you think that kids, like, in your class, let's say, tomorrow is Friday, right? And you're going to class tomorrow, you'll be sitting in an 8th grade class tomorrow. Do you think, like, kids in your class have, like, assumptions of what Christianity is or what church is?
they
Or,
have no clue.
or they have no clue? Or because they have a wrong idea of what it is?
Exactly. They think it's, I feel like most of them think it's, like, a barrier, and it's something that, like, oh, there's all these rules
Stale and rule, yeah.
that you cannot do.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think of it as, like, it's not something you have to follow, it's something you get to follow.
That's exactly it. Now, and the struggle is, the question is, how do we approach that? How do we speak to that? And it's difficult because there are assumptions. I remember when I was in 8th grade and going into high school, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too. Is sometimes I felt like I was all alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I felt, and maybe even now, we feel like we're all alone. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one who knows Jesus.
Yeah.
I really felt like that in school. I used to be like, we all grew up here. We go to church on Sunday, whatever, and then like Monday morning comes and it's like, okay, like, I just got to get through this week again so I can get back to the weekend and get back to Sunday.
That's my life. Like, I go through school, I do the best I can, and it's just, I go, weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
Like, the weekend just goes by, and everything I look forward to, like football,
Yeah.
and just even just coming to church and just like listening and just sitting there.
It's almost like you need a break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, then we have like a President's Day weekend. It's a 5-day weekend.
Yeah.
But then it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's right. We think we have all these plans, and then
Exactly.
But you need a break from your life. You need to pause from your life, and probably a lot of your friends. I'm sure a lot of your friends are so overcommitted to a lot of things too. They're in 14 different sports. They do all these different clubs after school and all that, and
It's ridiculous.
they're worn out.
Especially because like, I'm in sports and stuff. I have friends. I have this one specific friend. I won't say names or anything, but like, he's on 5 basketball teams.
Yeah, see, I can't do that.
One
That's crazy to
travel,
me.
one for school, a rec team, and then an AAU team, and another
I
travel
don't know what
team.
AAU even means. That's crazy.
American Athletic Union.
Of course it is. But yeah, I don't know. That would drive me a little crazy. Like, it's almost like it. Maybe Jonathan, you because you grew up doing sports as did I. It's almost as the parents aren't even giving a chance to say, hey, listen. I'm not saying make church is the priority. Christ is the priority, and a lot of parents are just not making that anymore.
They are. The way they were taught was, they learned about it, and a lot of like some of your generation is like going with it and just keeping it all balled up, and they're losing more of it as they go on, and then as soon as they like, their kids are old enough that like they want to like really like get them in to the word and everything, it's like, what do they have?
Yeah. I mean, going back to what you said, like, in terms of like parenting, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a stats guy. Like, the stats of just the trending down, or I guess the trending up of the population being unaffiliated with a religion or Christianity. I go by what the numbers tell me, and those numbers that go up and up with unaffiliated with any religion, you're going to have less and less of the next generation.
Well, that's actually
kind of cause and effect. It goes back to the parenting. Sorry, Ethan, but it goes back to being raised through middle school, through high school, through college.
Yes.
And like you said, having time, I guess, or dedication towards, being a Christian, which comes from your parents ultimately, or your family. Yeah,
and I'll say this: you are entering, Ethan. You're entering into high school. You're entering probably. I don't want to. You're going to go into a different phase for sure, but I think a lot of times where you see that drop off for the unchurched or those who feel like they don't need Jesus, I think that happens right after high school. I think they leave
It's
high
when
school
they
thinking
think
all hail
that-
the power of Jesus' name, and they go into college and like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. I
Mhm.
don't need this anymore. I don't need him anymore. Let me ask you a question, or Jonathan, maybe you can ask the question of like if you can sum up what his kids in his generation thrive on or like and all. I mean, I don't know, like what makes you
So,
guys tick?
A
Or
lot of
you can
things
answer.
about it is like things that connect to us, like
Yeah.
especially like when we do like the recharge stuff, like I still remember the Amazon thing that was the hidden meaning behind the logo. It was the A to Z.
Yeah.
I never knew that, and
Yeah.
I learned that, and it's just simple things that like we see in like our
Very
day-to-day.
visual. Very visual.
We are very visual, and it's like we see like something that we did today, and we can connect it so well. Like the thing about like how we're in social media and so much like that.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing so much stuff that's going on, but that it's like if you show me like something that like a current event
Yeah.
in like the sports world and connect it to something that
Yeah.
you want to teach us, it will it's so much easier to learn instead of just like saying and just going through the motions and stuff like that. It's just you have to kind of connect with what exactly we're doing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up social media because, I think we were talking a little before. Like, I'm 10 years removed from high school. You're 14, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
From what my wife tells me, things have changed a lot in public school systems.
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, behavior, trends, followings, interests.
It's ridiculous.
And social media is a big part of that.
Yes.
So I guess, how impactful do you see that, Ethan, like in your high school, in terms of what's trending or what people are most interested in?
People are most interested in fitting in. That's
I guess that never changes.
That's
yeah.
the biggest part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everyone wants to be in that group of the kids that get laughed at. Used to be like bullying and stuff like that. Now laughed at is like a good thing. Like it's almost
It's
like
getting attention.
exactly like
Yeah.
kids that maybe they have like a bad life at home and like they don't get any attention or something like that. Like a trend that was like on TikTok or something was stealing soap dispensers from a bathroom.
This is crazy.
Like it's ridiculous.
This is great. This is ridiculous.
Someone stole a toilet from a local middle school in like Watertown.
Really?
Someone somehow
I paid for that toilet. I paid taxes in
They
Watertown.
found a way to steal the toilet
Bring my toilet back.
and walk out of the school.
Yeah.
And like they have soap dispensers, they put them in their backpack. Like it makes no sense.
Well, that's a good question. Like, like the kids in your class, right?
Yeah.
Do they all have like TikToks and things?
Well, majority of them do.
Wow.
I never affiliated myself with TikTok.
So is that where kids like rely on? Is that where they get their identity? And is it
They get
that's a good
no,
question? Is
I
identity?
think
Is that for in your social media, like
their
for your friends?
identity comes from what their friends do. It's if someone starts something in 2 hours, everyone will do that.
Yeah.
Like-
the influencers.
Exactly. Like honestly, especially like fashion and stuff like that. Like say like a guy like I don't know, The Rock wears like a shirt with like 8 holes in it
Yeah.
and looks ridiculous.
I don't know who The Rock is.
Or like Kyle Kuzma. He's
Oh sure. I don't know who that is either.
He's an NBA player.
Related to
And
Dean Martin? No.
he wears this ridiculous thing almost every time he comes
Yeah.
to a basketball game. One time he wore an extremely huge coat. He's worn pink.
That's
like
all it takes.
Fur coats and stuff like that. Like Travis Kelce, he wears like it's just ridiculous. Juju Smith-Schuster, he wore a kilt to the Super Bowl. It's just like
Honest to God.
if someone wore that to school,
Yeah.
it'd be ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
and then someone
So
else
it's
does it.
they're easily influenced.
Someone else does it, and everyone else does it. So,
Right.
like, just a ton of things. I've been looking at them lately, and I've been thinking about this, like, Crocs.
Yeah.
Crocs went from one kid wearing them because
Hey, my son wears Crocs.
Hey, yeah,
don't you?
hey, no.
no, like
I just bought some.
I wore Crocs when
Yeah.
I was younger, and
Yeah.
then I kind of didn't wear them like 5 to 12, and then I just started wearing them again. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like I realized how comfortable they were, and I didn't want to wear them because I thought I was like, they don't look good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest with you, they're comfortable. And they don't look good, but if I'm not gonna be like judged on that, that's when I'm gonna wear them.
Well, and going back to what you said just about like influencers, like famous people that are wearing these crazy outfits.
Here it comes.
Like,
Go ahead.
well,
Yeah.
well, I was just gonna say like, I guess if I try to put myself in, a high schooler's shoes that's trying to fit in, that stuff I guess is entertaining to them.
That's all
it
they
provides
have.
them entertainment, and I could, they I guess they see that as more amusing than maybe focusing on something more important like Jesus Christ dying for all your sins.
Yeah, the creator.
And unfortunately, that's what I think, and I
Yeah.
don't know, Ethan, you could tell me I'm wrong, but I mean I'm on social media. I see a lot of people do a lot of stupid stuff, but
Very.
I think a lot of people think that's entertainment, and
100%.
and they try to imitate that, and
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of where these trends develop.
Well, I've seen stuff like
Yeah.
that, and it's funny, and then there's a line.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
I was doing parkour for like 3 weeks after that episode of The Office.
yeah.
I'm still easily influenced with a lot of that stuff.
Parkour.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, for sure.
But when
For
that's
sure.
the only thing in your life, that
Yeah.
that influences you that much.
Jonathan's got a good question there. So is do you think that, I don't want to just say kids in your class, but like 14-year-olds, like the average 14, 15-year-old, like if it's not trending, they're not into it.
Yeah.
Right.
So the chances that someone's gonna just wear something or like do something out of the blue
Yeah,
is extremely low.
it's got to
So-
be. It's got to come from somewhere.
So then there's people that make money off of doing ridiculous things. Like
We're trying to do that today.
no, like it's even worse than that. Like
Yeah.
they're going into a store and they'll like, I don't know, mess around until they get in trouble.
Yeah.
And they get kicked
Yeah,
out. Like
it's ridiculous.
we got kicked out of Walmart today, and I got 7 million likes on
I
this,
know.
and I just got $6,000 from YouTube for this one video.
Do you think? Oh, we'll take it.
Subscribe,
Click the button below. Do you think that all of this has to do? And the real question: do you think that all of this has to do with a struggle of kids in your generation? Meaning, like, they're trying to fill a void. And here's the question. And actually, I wrote this down. Like, where do kids in junior high, like you guys, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, into high school and into college, what are the most pressing struggles and problems? Like, what do you see kids? Is it? And here's 2 examples, right? Is it bullying? Is it broken families? I mean,
Yeah, I
where
feel like
where you
that.
have maybe the father left or the mother left or I said bullying already, but things like that. Are there, like, what do you
So,
see as
I
the
feel
greatest
as if
need?
Bullying is kind of not as much. There's not as much like the typical bullying, like
Yeah.
like give me your lunch money, like
Yeah.
like that's never happened because like you put a code in to get your lunch now,
Yeah.
and they see your face and they click on it and they're like, okay, you just paid for your lunch online,
Perfect.
like you don't need lunch
Where
money
was that?
anymore.
Holy
But
cow.
yeah, so I feel like it's mostly the family problem thing.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
They go,
Broken families. and-
they act out in school to get maybe they want an email.
They
sent
want the
home.
atten-
They want
Interesting.
something. They want
Oh, attention.
they
want
want
the
their
attention.
parent to come home and say, you did this in school. Well, yeah, that's the first time you talked to me in 4 days. Like they'll
That's
act,
terrifying.
they'll act out in school and then they'll go home and they'll just go on their phones and say,
Yeah.
you know what, my dad left, my mom is struggling. You know what, this is my only break.
Do you know kids in your class, just to get
Yes.
with your class or football team that have broken homes? And
Oh,
when,
yeah.
when by broken homes we define as like a parent left or a single parent household and things like that. I'm sure you know kids and that's tough to be 14
It really is.
years old. And
It's happening more and more Like, I have one friend that doesn't have any parents. He lives with his grandparents, and he spends 13 hours a day on his Xbox.
See, that's incredible to me.
He doesn't. He barely sleeps. That's another thing.
That's another
I wanted
thing
to bring
too.
Up sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
go ahead. Typical 14-year-old wants to bring up sleep. I love it. No, it's true.
We're bringing up like what we depend on, and it's definitely not sleep, because the numbers have gone down ridiculously in the last so many times.
Yeah.
I know my dad's watching this right now, and he's gonna tell me, "Oh, Tim's gonna bring you home at 10:15, so you have to go to bed right away."
It's not gonna be 10:15, Joe.
to get your 15 hours of sleep tonight.
Yeah, right.
Like, I know kids that, like, literally, they stayed up all night
on their phones.
Just
up
to stream, to watch, literally
watch other people play video games.
Exactly. Like, a new season drops in a video game, and they'll stay up till ridiculous times, like 2:32 a.m. exactly, and then they'll play it all night, and they'll get they're like, wow. There's a new Netflix show out, and that's, if you don't watch it right away, it's gonna get spoiled in school, which is ridiculous.
It's the FOMO effect, the fear of missing out.
Yeah, and
fear of missing out.
Another thing is there's this new show out recently, and everyone's watching it, and they're watching it in class. I'm like, you can't do this. Like,
yeah. Well, a lot of that is based in anxiety too, right? So so if you don't have, anxiety and trust, right? So you don't trust, if your father left or your mother left, and you have a broken home, or you're like your friend who just lives with their grandparents, and that probably relates to trust. You don't trust anybody anymore, and why would I trust this person? This person left me, or that person left me, and then it relates into anxiety. I'm sure there are kids in your class that deal with anxiety and stress,
it's happening
and depression,
more and more.
and a lot of that. Yeah.
Another thing that is technology is becoming more and more, like, for me to my younger cousin. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Actually
can't keep up.
Today I actually went into a kindergarten class to read, for Read Across
Really?
America Day.
Really?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's called Read Across Woken.
Yeah,
and I went to Wigley Elementary School, and I read to a kid.
That's awesome.
In their class. And I'm going in, and I'm like, this is nothing like my elementary school experience. It's They had everything on the electronic board, and I'm like, it's so much different now. And then they got
everywhere.
Half the kids had the masks on, and it's this kid went out to sign up for the bathroom. This I was shocked by. They clicked on an iPad. They wrote their name and then clicked on an iPad and went to the bathroom.
It's crazy to have an 8th grader walk into a kindergarten or first grade class and be like, "Oh, you guys are so advanced." It happens fast, and it's hard to keep up. And there's stuff missing, right? There's something missing, and if you don't catch it, you lose it. And see, Jesus fills in all those holes, right? So, 1 Peter 5:7, I had that written down. Actually, do you have it written? You can read that. 1 Peter 5:7.
This is Chelsea's favorite verse.
1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you.
Do you know how much that would change kids in your 8th grade class?
Seriously,
I mean, in all honesty, right? Because it's scary. I mean, between the social media and technology and all that stuff, and the home situations where maybe you just don't go to a whole family for whatever that's worth.
Can I say something about that now?
Yeah.
So another thing about it is they'll have this problem and they won't go to anyone about it.
Yes.
And then I read the book today, and it's it was talking about a school counselor, and they have a counselor that comes in. I didn't know I had a counselor in elementary school. That wasn't.
Really?
We had one.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
It wasn't relevant to me, and now it's becoming more and more. It's helping a lot of kids, and sometimes helping.
Well, it is
not the right ways.
Right. See, what you just said there was interesting. So we had counselors and guidance counselors and things like that. But now kids, I'm guessing, because there's always the state or whatever, if there's funding to always fill a need. Something's wrong with the kids. So everyone needs to have a counselor. right? And that's what, we got to fill a need. Everyone's going to have a counselor and all this. And there's a reason we're doing this, whether it's the kids that are struggling with depression, loneliness, whatever,
more and more in younger kids.
Exhaustion. I mean, you already mentioned about sleep and things like that. And I think we sometimes, and this is what we were saying earlier about assumptions of Christianity. I think people look at Christianity as something old and stale, and they look at Christianity, but they don't look at Jesus. And where Peter says, listen, cast all your anxiety on him. He cares for you. Yeah. If that was our message as Christians, I think you'd have a different response. And I think that
we'd have a different church.
You'd have a different church. And I think you'd have a different number than 34% of kids your age and older that are like, I don't need Jesus anymore. Well, okay, you may not need historical Christianity with the liturgy and all the traditions and customs. If you don't need religion, I'm right there with you. I understand that. But if you're saying you don't need Jesus, man, you're missing out on so much.
Yeah, another thing is they try to go to social media and they have that problem. And I've actually done this before, so I can't just say it's other people. Yeah. You have a problem that you just can't stop thinking about. Usually someone would go out and go out and just be out in the world and stuff like that. Like maybe go to a restaurant and just think about everything and stuff like that. But now it's I can't stop thinking about it. It's bothering me. My face is getting red. I'm sweating.
Yes.
I just need to relax.
And at 14 years old, and that's a lot to keep in.
And then it's so much easier to just go on your phone and not think about it.
Yes.
It actually helps a lot, but it helps too much in a way. Yeah. That kids will be like, oh shoot, I was just on my phone for 5 hours and I had no clue. It's actually 4 a.m.
Yes.
I have school in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Another thing is
the whole mental health aspect of
this. People are trying to promote it, and then I've actually seen a kid that's oh, I don't go on my phone a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because he spends all his time on a gaming console.
Yeah.
He wants to try to be like the kid that's oh, I don't use my phone. Yeah. Yeah, you do. You use a device.
Let me make it personal for you, and here's the question for you. At some point, faith became personal for you, right? Yeah. So
that's been more recently for me.
Yeah. So we talked earlier. You talked earlier that sometimes it feels like you're the only one with everything we just unpacked. Sometimes I feel like you're the only one who knows Jesus, and it could feel like that. And we talked about that. Yeah.
This is actually a kind of crazy topic because I have this friend he's Catholic.
Yeah.
And he's he thinks Christianity has nothing to do with being Catholic. He's oh yeah, you guys do this and we do this. Yeah. Wait, it's connected. I'm it's something that we bring up a lot, and they're different in a lot of ways, but they're more connected. Than
you got to focus on some of the similarities and work backwards.
Buddhism,
yeah, exactly. There's more common ground there. Yeah, there's more common ground there. We can work on that.
Exactly.
There was a time you and I and Jonathan all were born here, essentially, and even just the Bible Church specifically. This is a home, as imperfect as it is. It's home, right? And so my question for you is, sometimes it's harder. Let's say not harder, but it's different, right? So let's say your friends in school or football or whatever it ends up being, to not know who Jesus is, and then to find out who Jesus is and fall in love with Jesus, is one thing. But when you grow up in the faith, like three of us did, there still had to be a moment where you had to make it personal. That, you know what, because you've got a lot of family. Sometimes your family takes up the whole left side of the church, between your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your parents, your sister. It's easy to look around and say, well, this is just what my family does on Sunday, instead of being, this is what I do on Sunday. And when did that change, or how did that change?
Another thing like that is my parents, I think they raised me through Christ perfectly. It's they're not forcing it on to me, you have to read your Bible every single day. But right. It's you get to read your Bible every day if you want.
Yeah.
Because you know what it will do for you.
Yeah.
And I grew up and I kind of went through the motions, and that was what I think I should have done. Because I think if they forced it on me, I would hate it right now. It would be like
interesting.
It would be like
it's very interesting.
They're like, you have to do this. Come on, like this is what you need to do. Like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would be a lot harder for me, and I think it's the fact that I got to choose my path in a way almost. That I know they know, and I know this is the right thing, and I chose this. I wasn't forced to do this.
Yeah.
And also another thing is like how you were talking about like how we take up like the whole row. Like I have like my family, and then we come here, and then we kind of like we go through a routine, and we'll go through the week, and we'll come here, and we'll sit in the same spot.
Whatever, right?
Like there's a right side and there's a left side of the church.
There really is.
It's like the right side of your mind, the left side of your mind. Like the left side is a little sings a little. It's a little
more, woke it. It's a little woke it.
The right side's more like.
I love this conversation with Ethan. Yes, right. Oh, this is all the Irish side, and this is the Italian side. In the middle is the Mediterranean.
And then Jonathan and had to impose on our side, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Well, that's a really good question, though, too, because that is a big topic, right? For someone who's 14 years old, of like, well, listen, you know what? This is my parents' faith, and then it became my faith. Because I remember when that happened to me. I was 12 or 13 years old, and I went to Monadnock.
It wasn't.
And it was different.
I wish I went to Monadnock, but it was more like.
Raining the guilt down.
Shame.
But I still did youth group.
It was. It's almost like. We know what we should do, and I was raised like knowing right from wrong, and it was like maybe last year that it was just one day I was just like, I'm not doing this for my parents. I'm doing this for me. This is something I want to do and I want to go through in my life. And also like we mentioned like this church side, and it's like oh, like this side of the church was clean, so this one's better. And like and we're like just thinking, and we're all together.
It's a family.
And we exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like we're lucky enough. There's a lot of people that we do not give enough credit to. Like a lot of people, there's one person that their mom started to go to our church, and Logan and Ethan. And
yes, Christina's awesome.
And like like I know they people like that almost aren't like raised since like the day they were born.
Right.
That's the people I give the most credit to that go into it.
I agree.
They're starting fresh.
I agree.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
And I see people that come in new every week, and then I see the same people that are just building and building on their faith, and it's just getting higher and higher. And then we have people that are coming in, and they're starting, and that is really tough to do, I think. And it was so much easier for me because I was fortunate enough to have the background and stuff like that.
There's a lot of people in this church and in this world that aren't as blessed as we are in terms of being raised in a Christian home. For what you just said, it takes a lot of wisdom and brightness to really make that distinction that, hey, my family does this, so instead of thinking, hey, my family does this, I have to do this. Yes, you're making it personal. It is a choice to ask God into your heart and have that personal relationship. We always say we don't use the term, religion with Jesus Christ. It's our relationship with Jesus Christ. And
something a lot more like with that. Sorry for
it's
like the thing was when I'm gonna go like a little more personal with this, but like a thing was when I was like a few years ago, I used to have like a lot of anxiety, like with talking about like Jesus and stuff like that, because it was really tough for me. And it's come really a lot easier for me. Like the more I go, like I would see a movie and I would get really, really nervous, and it would be really tough for me. Like I would talk to my parents about it, and they're like, and then they would make me feel so much better because I know like he's there. And then like I know like it used to be like I was lost, and it was like kind of like the anxiety came from the unknown, and like almost like I wanted to have more knowledge, but I didn't. And like if you asked me to do a podcast 5 years ago, it would be like, I go to church because my mom and dad go to church, and I want to, and I do my Bible every day because, my parents do it, and I'm kind of connected, but, I just do it. And I on YouVersion, I just click check mark on everyone, and it shows that I finished.
But that's natural to feel that way.
Exactly.
Too. Don't beat yourself up.
No,
Yeah.
I've kind of grown from that in a way.
Yeah.
And it's almost been a lot more recently. I've been well, I'm just going through these Bible plans with my family, and then I started listening. I think it was 2 years ago. I started really listening to them, and what they're saying.
Awesome.
And I realized this is really relevant to me, and everyone connects to me in a different way.
It's the power of the Holy Spirit, though. To be honest with you, I really do
the
think.
Devotionals, I look forward to a lot more sometimes than the verses.
Yeah.
Because the verses sometimes, because the devotionals are almost
expand on it.
So we do this thing in school where we have quotations and we explain it.
Yeah.
So the quotations are almost are the Bible.
Yeah.
And the devotional is almost like the explanation to it.
Sure.
The three-paragraph essay.
Yep.
The quote, let's say it's one of these quotes.
Yeah.
Cast your anxiety onto him. Okay, I'll do that. But then we go more into depth about it.
Yes.
And we're oh, that has so much meaning behind it.
And application to your life, too, I think is important.
Because if we had a devotional for every verse, the Bible wouldn't end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, something just on all of this, I guess from your point of view, Ethan, you have a lot of perspective on, kids your age and being at school and, I guess just I guess in general, as preachers, as advocates and deacons of the church, how do we help and
excellent question.
Where do we have to kind of adapt and improve?
How can we serve you?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I think in my grade, think you go to church, good for you. You're such a good person.
It's a joke.
You are such a good for you. I don't really care.
Yeah.
And then they're then they go home and they don't know how to deal with their problems, and I'm I feel so bad because it's really tough for me to talk about Jesus and stuff in school. I'm starting to get more into it.
Yeah.
But that's something I've always wanted to do, but I'm struggling with it.
Yeah,
and it's
that's okay. It is.
But it's people are well, you're such a good person. I wish I could be that person. I'm you can.
You can.
It's possible for you. It's not it's
it's not me. It's Christ through me.
Away.
Yeah.
It's
We want to help you on as we help each other on your I don't say your faith journey, but on your walk with Christ, and not only you, kids like you, kids in your generation, Gen Z, who are growing up in 2023 at 14 years old, going into high school next fall. My guess is I think the more the church is authentic and real, and as you know, we don't try to impress anybody here on a Sunday morning. We just want to be authentic. And does that speak to the 14-year-old that, listen, I can see through smoke and mirrors. I can see through something that's a performance, something that's kind of put on. I just need real relationships. And is
that's something that I've been trying, that's why I've been listening to the meetings sometimes. And because I like what you guys are doing. It's connecting. Because we're preaching to the people today, that are in their 50s and 60s, that are they're just building their faith more and more, and they're memorizing these verses, and we're going through Romans right now and stuff like that.
Yep.
And but then you got to look at the people in 40 years who's going to be with this church.
Yeah, me and you, Ethan. We're going to be listening to you preach in about 20 years.
Seriously,
yeah.
Who is going to sadly, we have to say that these people are going to go into heaven one day.
Yeah.
That are leading
sad
this
for
church
us,
right
man.
now. The elders.
Yeah.
We
hey, watch it.
We love them. We love them to death and everything, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen one day.
Well, we want to continue to to support you in this for sure.
We want this church to keep going, and like, so like in 50 years, what are we gonna do?
Right. Well, in 5 years, I mean that. Right, exactly. We take it on a week by week basis.
Too much,
yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely
like,
right.
Who is gonna be here with me, you, and Jonathan? Like, going up with this church.
It's gonna be Luca, Leo, and Gio on the yeah for sure.
The Italian podcast, you know.
Yeah. Right. That'd be weird.
The Podfather.
Ethan, it's really important to get this perspective. Something I take from what you said earlier is with the social media. We already talked about social media, but it seems like kids your age and your generation need something that's fast and that's relevant. And something like that's why TikTok is so YouTube. Be careful for YouTube one day. YouTube might turn into a thesaurus, meaning like who's going to sit through a 56-minute video one day when TikTok can solve all your problems in 12 seconds.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this like.
And the church needs to tap into that.
Get back into like a shorts thing, like there's YouTube Shorts, there's Instagram Reels.
Shorts, right? See that? Shorts, perfect.
Like they're doing it because our attention spans are getting worse and worse, and it's
that's
like,
exactly you're absolutely right.
It's going from we could watch a 7-hour like movie and be intrigued in every part, and like the less you're on social media, the easier it is to go through a movie or like something like that, or like television, like when. Like, you guys were kids, you would, like, sit in front of the TV or something like that. But for us, it's
I do that every night.
It's getting more and more, like quick. And
the church needs to communicate.
Everything's starting to like the fast, and it's starting to, build.
100% true. 100% true. I think that the church itself doesn't necessarily... You can't change the message, but I think you can change the method and how you communicate it. And I think that's really, really important, right? Because so many people will say, oh, well, you know what, the church, has been doing this since 1977 and we shouldn't change this and that or whatever. Just take any example, any church, whatever. And, well, that's great, but that's almost 2,000 years after Jesus. So
and you have to think also,
traditional was almost contemporary in that regard, not to sound whatever.
What we're doing today, that was new.
Like unheard of.
A while
ago. Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Like standing up and like singing and stuff like that. That was probably like. Then you think about like U.S. history I'm going through right now and like stuff like that and like social studies and like how they went through their faith is 100 times different. What is like the old way of doing it now. So the way that we're changing and they had to change and we changed to this, I feel like we have to change to what we're going through now.
I think it's really important to adapt. I think it really is important to adapt.
It's really hard to change, and that's something that I guess we want to do.
But how do we change, Ethan?
Exactly,
really,
it's really tough.
We've got probably 4 minutes left, but that is really the question: is how do we grow? Not necessarily here on Sundays, and but just in general, as Christians, how do we grow to your generation? Without losing sight of the faith, right? We don't want to compromise our faith. We can't change the message, right?
We're thinking about how we're gonna impact the people here, and I said we should impact people here, and like the other countries that we're going to is like that's amazing.
Yeah.
But like there's people here, but also you're looking, everything is going down in Christianity in America.
Yeah.
But I'm actually reading a book right now on like 10 questions for teens about Christianity and stuff like that.
Wow.
And my dad got for me. It's showing how, like in China, they're put in prison for believing God.
Absolutely.
And you know what? It's growing. It's growing more and more.
Yeah.
They say by 2040.
Maybe we shouldn't worry as much.
75% of China are going to be Christians.
Maybe we shouldn't worry much. Maybe we should rely on the Spirit. Not by being lazy, but
I was just going to say one final thing is one thing we haven't talked about is prayer and what we can be doing in that sense. So not only am I going to pray for anyone that needs to know the truth, but especially your generation, Ethan, where we know there's a lot of no one really following or no one really stuck to something, and we we could do things for outreach and attract people to the truth.
Sure.
But really, prayer is what we can do
another
right away.
thing about that is like we would like in like youth group, like the games, like the Pictionary or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we go to work and we go through the prayer and everything like that. Like it just helps you. Like it makes me excited to go, and I'm not saying like I'm not excited to like go into the Bible. It's just like I'm excited to go play that Pictionary game.
Yeah.
And then I'm there already, and it's kind of relating to what we're going through today.
We have to make those connections.
So you know what? It's actually fun now because we did that, and I could relate the really fun thing that we did to what we're learning.
Ethan, you know, I used to think, and I had this conversation with Karen Silva once. I used to say, Karen, I said, you know, I have these friends who don't know Jesus, right? And I said, I wish that they would. I wish I would see the Lord working in their life. Man, if this person only knew about Jesus. Man, if the Lord was working in this person's life, it would be so great. And you know what Karen Silva told me once? This is probably 15 years ago. She said, you know what? You're in that person's life, right? I said, yes, I am. She goes, looks like the Lord already put the pieces in place. You just got to make it happen. And I thought to myself, yeah, you know what? We all do play a part in this. And Ethan, and so much what Jonathan was saying, the Lord, and through prayer, the Lord will do awesome things through you, and it'll be through you. It'll be Him through you, for His purposes. You know, I actually had this written down. I want to read it. It's an old hymn. It's an old hymn from 1925, and we sang it a couple weeks ago. I remember I turned to Jonathan, and it was the last verse of the hymn. I turned to Jonathan and I said, that's a great line. And it was made the mind of Christ my Savior. Old hymn, almost it's 98 years old. And verse 5 says this, and I'm going to read verse 6. May I run the race before me, strong and brave to face the foe, looking only unto Jesus as I onward go. Here's verse 6. May His beauty rest upon me as I seek the lost to win. This is the most important. And may they forget the channel, seeing only Him. Like, our goal and purpose in life is just to promote Christ, and we are the channel there written down, right? May they, God will use you and use us as tools for His purposes. You're 14 years old going into class tomorrow on a Friday, but you know what? You are a representative of Jesus Christ, and you bring light into that darkness. You already said you've got friends with broken homes, with anxiety, with or even you yourself had, admittedly having anxiety a couple of years ago. The Lord uses you, Ethan, at your age, to accomplish His will. I want to read this last verse, and we're done. This is where did I have this written down? Everyone got me all jacked up today. I want to read you this verse. Joshua, right? Joshua. I'm going to read you two of them. And Jonathan's going to read Joshua 24:15. I'm just going to read Jeremiah 1:4-8 quickly. Now the word of the Lord came to me. This is Jeremiah. Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. This is Jeremiah. Then I said, O Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak, for I am only a youth. But the Lord said to me, do not say, I am only a youth. For to all to whom I send you, you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord. Let no one look down on you on your youth. And then Jonathan, give me Joshua 24:15.
But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods or ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Never lose that, Ethan, because here's what that means, right? Wherever you go when you go into class tomorrow, and when we go into work tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, and you're surrounded by people who don't know Christ, or they serve a different Lord, and whatever that may be. As for you, Ethan, 14 years old, in 8th grade tomorrow, as for you, I serve the Lord, and I think that's a good base for you to live by.
In our house, we go through this like little doorway to go down to the garage, which we leave it for school every day, and in that like little hallway where we go down the stairs, that's actually right up against the wall. Yeah. Two things I want to have printed out in my house is one is that verse from Joshua, and number two, I want to have the Nicene Creed printed out right by my door. This is what the Page family believes. Ethan, we could talk forever, and you know what?
we're in a rush in life. Hopefully we spend the rest of our lives together. Jonathan and I are not going anywhere. We are here to support you and pray for you and just walk alongside of you. We're looking forward to your first sermon one day. We'll start writing that whenever that may be. To those that have hung with us and that watched us all along, I hope you got a little bit of an insight of what it's like inside the mind and the makeup of what it's like to be a teenager in 2023 and to be in 8th grade. And Jonathan, I think it's a little different than what we kind of experienced. But the Lord is the same. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is the healing balm. And I strongly urge you to pray for this generation. Pray for Gen Z. They're going to need your prayers. They're going to need your guidance. If you have a child who is or any age, but if you've got a child in that age bracket, 12 to 18 years old, just go in the room and kiss them goodnight tonight, and just let them know that you love them, because they need you, and more importantly, they need Christ as the be all and end all, as the really remedy for what they need. For Ethan and Jonathan, I am Tim. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. We are off next week. In 2 weeks, we may have some other guests lined up, so we're working on a couple of things, as being a St. Patrick's Day weekend 2 weeks from now. But thank you so much for hanging with us. Thanks to Ethan. I got to get you home before 10 o'clock, so I don't look like a fool. But thank you, everybody, and good night.
Love you guys.